Amy Elliott Dunn. July 5, 2008. I am fat with love. Husky with ardor. Morbidly obese with devotion. A happy, busy bumblebee of marital enthusiasm. I positively hum around him, fussing and fixing. I have become a strange thing. I have become a wife. I find myself steering the ship of conversations, bulkily, unnaturally, just so I can say his name aloud. I have become a wife, I have become a bore, I have been asked to forfeit my independent young feminist card. I don't care. I balance his checkbook. I trim his hair. I've gotten so retro, at one point I will probably use the word pocketbook, shuffling out the door in my swingy tweed coat. Nothing bothers me. Everything seems like it will turn out fine, every bother transformed into an amusing story to be told over dinner. So I killed a hobo today, honey, ha 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 ha. Ah, we have fun. Nick is like a good stiff drink, he gives everything the correct perspective. Not a different perspective, the correct perspective. With Nick, I realize it actually, truly doesn't matter if the electricity bill is a few days late, if my latest quiz turns out a little lame. My most recent, I'm not joking, what kind of tree would you be? Me, I'm an apple tree. This means nothing. It doesn't matter if the new amazing Amy book has been well and duly scorched, the reviews vicious, the sales a stunning plummet after a limp start. It doesn't matter what color I paint our room, or how late traffic makes me, or whether our recycling really, truly does get recycled. Just level with me, New York, does it? It doesn't matter, because I have found my match. It's Nick, laid back and calm, smart and fun and uncomplicated. Untortured. Happy. Nice. All the stuff I don't like about myself has been pushed to the back of my brain. Maybe that is what I like best about him, the way he makes me. Not makes me feel, just makes me. I am fun. I am playful. I am game. I feel naturally happy and entirely satisfied. I am a wife. It's weird to say those words. Seriously, about the recycling, New York, come on, just a wink. We do silly things. Like last weekend, we drove to Delaware because neither of us had ever had fun in Delaware. Let me set the scene, because now it really is for posterity. We crossed the state line, welcome to Delaware, the sign says, and also, small wonder, and also, the first state. And also, home of tax-free shopping. Delaware, a state of many rich identities. I point Nick down the first dirt road I see, and we rumble for 5 minutes until we hit pine trees on all sides. Then we drive right back home. I eat beef jerky and ride with bare feet on the dashboard. We love our house. The house that amazing Amy built. A Brooklyn brownstone my parents bought for us, right on the promenade, with the big widescreen view of Manhattan. It's extravagant, it makes me feel guilty, but it's perfect. I battle the spoiled rich girl vibe where I can. Lots of DIY. We painted the walls ourselves over 2 weekends, spring green and pale yellow and velvety blue. In theory. None of the colors turned out like we thought they would, but we pretend to like them anyway. We fill our home with knickknacks from flea markets, we buy records for Nick's record player. Last night, we sat on the old Persian rug, listening to the vinyl scratches as the sky went dark and Manhattan switched on. And Nick said, "This is how I always pictured it." This is exactly how I pictured it. On weekends, we talk to each other under 4 layers of bedding, our faces warm under a sunlit yellow comforter. Even the floorboards are cheerful, there are 2 old creaky slats that call out to us as we walk in the door. I love it. I love that it is ours, that we have a great story behind the ancient floor lamp, or the misshapen clay mug that sits near our coffee pot, never holding anything but a single paper clip. I spend my days thinking of sweet things to do for him, go buy a peppermint soap that will sit in his palm like a warm stone. Or maybe a slim slice of trout that I could cook and serve to him, an ode to his riverboat days. I know, I am ridiculous. I love it, though. I never knew I was capable of being ridiculous over a man. It's a relief. I even swoon over his socks, which he manages to shed in adorably tangled poses, as if a puppy carried them in from another room. It is our 1-year anniversary, and I am fat with love, even though people kept telling us the first year was going to be so hard. As if we were naive children marching off to war. It wasn't hard. We are meant to be married. It is our 1-year anniversary, and Nick is leaving work at lunchtime. My treasure hunt awaits him. The clues are all about us, about the past year together. Whenever my sweet hubby gets a cold, it is this dish that will soon be sold. Answer. The Tom Yum soup from Thai Town on President Street. The manager will be there this afternoon with a taster bowl and the next clue. Also McMahon's in Chinatown and the Alice statue at Central Park. A grand tour of New York. We'll end at the Fulton Street Fish Market, where we'll buy a pair of beautiful lobsters, and I will hold the container in my lap as Nick jitters nervously in the cab beside me. We'll rush home, and I'll drop them in a new pot on our old stove with all the finesse of a girl who has lived many Cape summers, while Nick giggles and pretends to hide in fear outside the kitchen door. I had suggested we get burgers. Nick wanted us to go out, 5-star, fancy, somewhere with a clockwork of courses and name-dropping waiters. So the lobsters are a perfect in-between. The lobsters are what everyone tells us, and tells us and tells us, that marriage is about. Compromise. We'll eat lobster with butter. I'll give him his present, the monogrammed stationery he's been wanting from Crane and Company, with the clean sans serif font set in hunter green. On thick creamy stock that will hold lush ink in his writer's words. Stationery for a writer, and a writer's wife who's maybe angling for a love letter or two. Then maybe we'll have a late-night burger. Voila, happiest couple on the block. And they say marriage is such hard work.
Nick Dunn, the night of. Boney and Gilpin moved our interview to the police station, which looks like a failing community bank. They left me alone in a little room for 40 minutes, me willing myself not to move. To pretend to be calm is to be calm, in a way. I slouched over the table, put my chin on my arm. Waited. Do you want to call Amy's parents? Boney had asked. I don't want to panic them, I said. If we don't hear from her in an hour, I'll call. We'd done 3 rounds of that conversation. Finally, the cops came in and sat at the table across from me. I fought the urge to laugh at how much it felt like a TV show. This was the same room I'd seen while surfing through late-night cable for the past 10 years. And the 2 cops, wearied, intense, acted like the stars. Totally fake. Epcot Police Station. Boney was even holding a paper coffee cup and a manila folder that looked like a prop. Cop prop. I felt giddy, felt for a moment we were all pretend people. Let's play the missing wife game. You okay there, Nick? Boney asked. I'm okay. Why? You're smiling. The giddiness slid to the tiled floor. I'm sorry, it's all just. I know, Boney said, giving me a look that was like a hand pat. It's too strange, I know. She cleared her throat. First of all, we want to make sure you're comfortable here. You need anything, just let us know. The more information you can give us right now, the better, but you can leave at any time. That's not a problem, either. Whatever you need. Okay, great, thank you, she said. Okay. I want to get the annoying stuff out of the way first. The crap stuff. If your wife was indeed abducted, and we don't know that, but if it comes to that, we want to catch the guy, and when we catch the guy, we want to nail him. Hard. No way out. No wiggle room. Right. So we have to rule you out real quick, real easy. So the guy can't come back and say we didn't rule you out, you know what I mean. I nodded mechanically. I didn't really know what she meant, but I wanted to seem as cooperative as possible. Whatever you need. We don't want to freak you out, Gilpin added. We just want to cover all the bases. Fine by me. It's always the husband, I thought. Everyone knows it's always the husband, so why can't they just say it, we suspect you because you are the husband, and it's always the husband. Just watch Dateline. Okay, great, Nick, Boney said. First, let's get a swab of the inside of your cheek so we can rule out all of the DNA in the house that isn't yours. Would that be okay? Sure. I'd also like to take a quick sweep of your hands for gunshot residue. Again, just in case. Wait. Have you found something that makes you think my wife was? No, Nick, Gilpin interrupted. He pulled a chair up to the table and sat on it backward. I wondered if cops actually did that. Or did some clever actor do that, and then cops began doing it because they'd seen actors playing cops do that and it looked cool. It's just smart protocol, Gilpin continued. We try to cover every base, check your hands, get a swab, and if we could check out your car too. Of course. Like I said, whatever you need. Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate it. Sometimes guys, they make things hard for us just because they can. I was exactly the opposite. My father had infused my childhood with unspoken blame. He was the kind of man who skulked around looking for things to be angry at. This had turned go defensive and extremely unlikely to take unwarranted shit. It had turned me into a knee-jerk suck-up to authority. Mom, Dad, teachers, whatever makes your job easier, sir or madam. I craved a constant stream of approval. You'd literally lie, cheat, and steal, hell, kill, to convince people you are a good guy, Go once said. We were in line for knishes at Yonah Schimmel's, not far from Go's old New York apartment. That's how well I remember the moment, and I lost my appetite because it was so completely true and I'd never realized it. And even as she was saying it, I thought, I will never forget this. This is one of those moments that will be lodged in my brain forever. We made small talk, the cops and I, about the July 4th fireworks and the weather. While my hands were tested for gunshot residue and the slick inside of my cheek was cotton-tipped. Pretending it was normal. A trip to the dentist. When it was done, Boney put another cup of coffee in front of me and squeezed my shoulder. I'm sorry about that. Worst part of the job. You think you're up to a few questions now? It'd really help us. Yes, definitely. Fire away. She placed a slim digital tape recorder on the table in front of me. You mind? This way you won't have to answer the same questions over and over and over. She wanted to tape me so I'd be nailed to one story. I should call a lawyer, I thought, but only guilty people need lawyers, so I nodded. No problem. So, Amy, Boney said. You two been living here how long? Just about 2 years. And she's originally from New York City. Yes. She got a job? Gilpin said. No. She used to write personality quizzes. The detectives swapped a look. Quizzes? 14 magazines, women's magazines, I said. You know, are you the jealous type? Take our quiz and find out. Do guys find you too intimidating? Take our quiz and find out. Very cool. I love those, Boney said. I didn't know that was an actual job. Writing those. Like, a career. Well, it's not. Anymore. The internet is packed with quizzes for free. Amy's were smarter, she had a master's in psychology, has a master's in psychology. I guffawed uncomfortably at my gaffe. But smart can't beat free. Then what? Boney asked. I shrugged. Then we moved back here. She's just kind of staying at home right now. Oh. You guys got kids, then? Bonnie chirped, as if she had discovered good news. No. Oh. So then what does she do most days? That was my question too. Amy was once a woman who did a little of everything, all the time. When we moved in together, she'd made an intense study of French cooking, displaying hyperquick knife skills and an inspired bœuf bourguignon. For her 34th birthday, we flew to Barcelona, and she stunned me by rattling off trills of conversational Spanish, learned in months of secret lessons. My wife had a brilliant, popping brain, a greedy curiosity. But her obsessions tended to be fueled by competition. She needed to dazzle men and jealousy women. Of course Amy can cook French cuisine and speak fluent Spanish and garden and knit and run marathons. And day trade stocks and fly a plane and look like a runway model doing it. She needed to be amazing Amy, all the time. Here in Missouri, the women shop at Target, they make diligent, comforting meals, they laugh about how little high school Spanish they remember. Competition doesn't interest them. Amy's relentless achieving is greeted with open-palmed acceptance and maybe a bit of pity. It was about the worst outcome possible for my competitive wife, a town of contented also-rans. She has a lot of hobbies, I said. Anything worrying you? Bonnie asked, looking concerned. You're not worried about drugs or drinking? I'm not speaking ill of your wife. A lot of housewives, more than you'd guess, they pass the day that way. The days get long when you're by yourself. But even prescription painkillers, well, there are some pretty awful characters selling around here right now. The drug trade has gotten bad, Gilpin said. We've had a bunch of police layoffs. 1/5 of the force, and we were tight to begin with. I mean, it's bad. We're overrun. Had a housewife, nice lady, get a tooth knocked out last month over some OxyContin, Bonnie added. No, I said. No drugs. Bonnie eyed me, this was clearly not the answer she wanted. She have some good friends here. We'd like to call some of them, just make sure. No offense. Sometimes a spouse is the last to know when drugs are involved. People get ashamed, especially women. Friends. In New York, Amy made and shed friends weekly, they were like her projects. She'd get intensely excited about them. Paula, who gave her lessons, Amy went to boarding school in Massachusetts. I loved the very occasional times she got all New England on me, wicked good. Jessie from the fashion design course. But then I'd ask about Jessie or Paula a month later, and Amy would look at me like I was making up words. In Missouri, good God, I really didn't know. It only occurred to me just then. You truly are an asshole, I thought. 2 years we'd been here, and after the initial flurry of meet and greets, those manic first months, Amy had no one she regularly saw. She had my mom, who was now dead, and me, and our main form of conversation was attack and rebuttal. When we'd been back home for a year, I'd asked her, faux gallantly, and how are you liking North Carthage, Mrs. Dunn? New Carthage, you mean? She'd replied. I refused to ask her the reference, but I knew it was an insult. She has a few good friends, but they're mostly back east. Her folks. They live in New York City. And you still haven't called any of these people? Bonnie asked, a bemused smile on her face. I've been doing everything else you've been asking me to do. I haven't had a chance. I'd signed away permission to trace credit cards and ATMs and track Amy's cell phone. I'd handed over Go's cell number and the name of Sue, the widow at the cafe, who could presumably attest to the time I arrived. Baby of the family. She shook her head. You really do remind me of my little brother. A beat. That's a compliment, I swear. She dotes on him, Gilpin said, scribbling in a notebook. Okay, So you left the house at about 7:30 a.m., and you showed up at the bar at about noon, and in between, you were at the beach. There's a beachhead about 10 miles north of our house, a not overly pleasant collection of sand and silt and bottle shards. Trash barrels overflowing with styrofoam cups and dirty diapers. But there is a picnic table upwind that gets nice sun, and if you stare directly at the river, you can ignore the other crap. I sometimes bring my coffee and the paper and just sit. Gotta make the most of summer. No, I hadn't talked to anyone at the beach. No one saw me. It's a quiet place midweek, Gilpin allowed. If the police talked to anyone who knew me, they'd quickly learn that I rarely went to the beach and that I never sometimes brought my coffee to just enjoy the morning. I have Irish white skin and an impatience for navel gazing, a beach boy I am not. I told the police that it had been Amy's idea for me to go sit in a spot where I could be alone and watch the river I loved and ponder our life together. She'd said this to me this morning, after we'd eaten her crepes. She leaned forward on the table and said, "I know we are having a tough time. I still love you so much, Nick, and I know I have a lot of things to work on. I want to be a good wife to you, and I want you to be my husband and be happy. But you need to decide what you want." She'd clearly been practicing the speech. She smiled proudly as she said it. And even as my wife was offering me this kindness, I was thinking, of course she has to stage manage this. She wants the image of me and the wild running river, my hair ruffling in the breeze as I look out onto the horizon and ponder our life together. I can't just go to Dunkin' Donuts. You need to decide what you want. Unfortunately for Amy, I had decided already. Bonnie looked up brightly from her notes. "Can you tell me what your wife's blood type is?" she asked. No, I don't know." "You don't know your wife's blood type?" "Maybe I guessed." Bonnie frowned, then made a drawn-out, yoga-like sound. "Okay, Nick, here are the things we are doing to help." She listed them. Amy's cell was being monitored, her photo circulated, her credit cards tracked. Known sex offenders in the area were being interviewed. Our sparse neighborhood was being canvassed. Our home phone was tapped, in case any ransom calls came in. I wasn't sure what to say now. I raked my memory for the lines. What does the husband say at this point in the movie? Depends on whether he's guilty or innocent. I can't say that reassures me. Are you? Is this an abduction, or a missing persons case, or what exactly is going on? I knew the statistics, knew them from the same TV show I was starring in. If the first 48 hours didn't turn up something in a case, it was likely to go unsolved. The first 48 hours were crucial. I mean, my wife is gone. My wife is gone. I realized it was the first time I'd said it the way it should have been said, panicked and angry. My dad was a man of infinite varieties of bitterness, rage, and distaste. In my lifelong struggle to avoid becoming him, I'd developed an inability to demonstrate much negative emotion at all. It was another thing that made me seem like a dick. My stomach could be all oiled eels, and you would get nothing from my face and less from my words. It was a constant problem, too much control or no control at all. "Nick, we are taking this extremely seriously," Bonnie said. "The lab guys are over at your place as we speak, and that will give us more information to go on. Right now, the more you can tell us about your wife, the better. What is she like?" The usual husband phrases came into my mind: she's sweet, she's great, she's nice, she's supportive. What is she like how? I asked. "Give me an idea of her personality," Bonnie prompted. "Like, what did you get her for your anniversary?" "Jewelry." "I hadn't gotten anything quite yet," I said. "I was going to do it this afternoon." I waited for her to laugh and say baby of the family again, but she didn't. "Okay. Well, then, tell me about her. Is she outgoing? Is she, I don't know how to say this, is she New Yorkie? Like what might come off to some as rude. Might rub people the wrong way. I don't know. She's not a never met a stranger kind of person, but she's not abrasive enough to make someone hurt her. This was my 11th lie. The Amy of today was abrasive enough to make someone want to hurt her, sometimes.